Regular meeting of the Township of Frontenac Islands called to order at 10:32. We'll begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are meeting on land that has been under the stewardship of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Huron-Wendat for time immemorial. As settlers, we are grateful for the opportunity to meet, live, and play on this land, and we thank all generations of Indigenous people from the past to the present who currently continue to extend the sharing of this land with us. We recognize and deeply appreciate their ongoing connection to this place. We also recognize the contribution of the Métis, Inuit, and other Indigenous peoples who now make this region their home, and who have both shaped and strengthened the community and our province and country as a whole. As settlers, this recognition of the contributions and ongoing importance of the Indigenous peoples to the area must also be clearly and overtly connected to our collective commitment to make the promise and the challenge of truth and reconciliation real in our communities, and to bring justice for murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls across our country. Now, is there any declaration of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none, we'll start with delegation. We have Susan Bowers of the Wolf Island Art Gallery. Could state your name and address for the clerk since there's more than one of you there.
Okay, Susan Bowers, report going street, and Francis Steele, 61 cent. I mean, I think a correction on the delegation of Nancy Steele's name at the top versus delegation has my name. It's actually Nancy's who's going to present today.
Sure, yeah, thanks.
Morning.
Morning.
Mayor Greenwood Spears, to Deputy Mayor Saunders, Councillor Atherton, Councillor Halton, Councillor Bonski. Pronounce that correctly, sorry. I was just asked by the collective, perhaps we could probably say I was pushed forward by the collective to speak today. And I just want to let you know that it's not something I'm overly comfortable with doing. So we thought that we would do it together because Suze has a lot of the facts. If you were asking questions, we could probably share questions. We did put together a couple of pieces of information. One, it's a little separate, but it is the 3 points, and it marries the 3 points that we had put out in the presentation when we were first informed that we could present to council. So they do come together. They may not be but they're a complete match, but they do come together in terms of what we're looking for. So I thought I would just read the 3 points that that on the sheet that Lisa gave you, and then move on to some of the information behind that. So the first point is that we are a collective and not a business. We have a long-standing commitment with council to permit members of the collective to use the public space to support tourism and the artists who live on the islands. We are just one of the many users, including the town council. The township owns the building and is legally required to offer the public a safe and accessible public washroom for users and visitors to the building. I just wondered if there was any questions at the moment, or should we just
Continue on.
Thank you.
You're on a timing.
Yeah, I realize that. The Wolf Island Gallery is a central feature of the community during the summer months and is a significant source of tourist dollars for the community. As the only free thing to do in the village in the summer, it draws both residents and visitors alike to stroll Marysville, support the island arts community, and spend additional tourist dollars at the local businesses. I just want to say that that's the islands. And I'm saying that because we're supported by the Frontenac County. The Wolf Island Gallery is featured as a destination on Wolf Island on their website, Adventure in Frontenac County. And it refers to us at our location, and it says the Wolf Island Gallery was founded in 2018 and built on the legacy of the former Stone Heron Gallery. It functions as a nonprofit collective that showcases fine art and artisanal creations from the many artists living on and with connections to Frontenac Islands. We respectfully acknowledge that we are on the Anishinaabe and on the Nissaudi land of the indigenous Mohawk people. So we just won't point out, we actually represent all the islands. How Simcoe Garden and any others that I've missed.
Number 8.
In the past 6 years of the gallery being open, over 17,000 people visited the wig. Sales from the gallery generate revenue for islanders and a significant source of local support for the arts. The wig paid for council-approved repairs and upgrades to the building over the years. The wig also provided part-time jobs for youth in the community. Donations to the community made by WIG, and I've listed them all. There's the Friends of Temagami, there's the Medical Clinic, Friends of Farrell's, again, the Medical Clinic, the World Central Kitchen, the Community Garden, and this year we're doing the calendar fundraising for to honor one of the residents of Wolf Island, Willis Farrell, who at the very beginning, when we frantically wanted to figure out whether we could actually have a gallery on the island, she stepped forth with some seed money. And that was very important to us because we basically had no funding, nothing.
But I'm making a correction. There was a 0 drop in the medical clinic 2021 calendar. She was $620, not $62.
Thank you.
Wolf Island Gallery is a cooperative labor of love by local artists in an attempt to build the art community, increase tourism, which leads directly to funds invested in the municipality, and support local artists. The gallery supports professional and amateur artists and authors. For some, this is their very first gallery experience. In alignment with the municipal vision of the Township of Frontenac Islands, which aims to create a strong community identity, reflects the unique character of the area. Since 2018, over 50 artists and authors have participated in gallery exhibitions. The gallery has become a centerpiece of the summer experience in Wolf Island that residents and visitors alike look forward to. The week promotes the island's vibrant art presence as a meeting place to mentor and develop creativity through shows, workshops, exhibitions, and competitions, demonstrations, and youth activities. Over the years, the gallery has collaborated with the hotel, community garden, farm to table, annual Christmas market, garden party, Ontario Cultural Day, and summer market. During the pandemic, we've operated virtually unless COVID-19 compliant the following year. The previous council provided a verbal contract stipulating rent-free for the use of the space in lieu of no supported funding from township. Any interior enhancements and upkeeps to be approved by council are paid for by the gallery. Further, the gallery is to make the space available for township meetings and other needs as dictated by the township. This arrangement has worked well for 6 years, and we propose a continuation of the original agreement. And then there's the current change in contract that we've been asked to address. That's basically what brought us here in the first place, because the wants to have change. Well, we understand that municipalities need to economize and maximize revenues for the benefit of the community. Imposing the significant change to contracts and fees on the space sells short value of week, providing community is out of line with community values and actively reduces revenue generated by local business and artists. So our request is, in light of the above and per our previous communication with council, the members of the Wolf Island Gallery Collective are requesting the current mayor and council honor the existing verbal contract that has been functioning for the benefit of the community for 6 years and reverse the decision to charge fees to the gallery until such time as the following can be resolved in collaboration with the gallery participants and community voice. Clarification of purpose of fees and expectations of responsibilities of both parties. Timely discussion and open communication with the township. recognition of history and importance of the public community hall, and the value of art gallery to tourism, local economy, and the essence of the Frontenac Islands.
All set. Questions, Councillor Jablonski?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Great presentation. And I agree with you guys, because it seems unfair to actually put a fee weeks before you guys open up. Well, open up. I think this is all part and parcel thing you got help that with the last council, a lot of free things going on. Maybe a negotiation definitely, would you guys be open to looking at this being imposed next year? A small fee, I know it's tight now, it doesn't seem fair, but at one point, we have to start charging some stuff. We haven't done enough to be charged for a long time, now we have to start making up some tracks here. Would you guys be open to negotiating for next year?
Absolutely.
Just my 2 cents.
Okay, Councillor Holm?
So I probably have to own this. This likely was me that stemmed this. What it stemmed from was a member of public asked me about renting the space, and I said, I don't think we can do something, because we are counting years ago. And they asked what was paid, and I said, I don't know, I imagine they paid something. So that's when I asked about whether there was any fees, and I said, we should charge something. Everything we do at the community center, we charge a fee. We don't try and cover all the costs, but it's a small user fee. So that's the way I was looking at the gallery. I mean, I know the washroom issue, but as you told us, you bring about 3,000 visitors a year. Well, if we don't have those 3,000 coming in, we're not gonna have as much in the washroom, right? I mean, that's pretty practical to say that the extra traffic causes more, costs are going up. I just think we need to be fair all the way across. If, I know Wilma talked about for the other side that, you know, the seniors, well, if you look at our pickleballers, they're pretty well all seniors and we charge them a fee. So that's all I'm looking for. I would agree with Mike. I'm probably, it came on short notice and it is tough. I mean, so I think we could do something with fees this year, but going forward, I think we need to have a fee and we need to have a written agreement so we don't have this again. Where you're saying you had a verbal agreement, you know, let's have a written agreement so the next council can say, okay, or you can come and say, here's a written agreement. So I think we can certainly negotiate for this year, but going forward, I would be looking for a fee and to be talked about what we're gonna do. I mean, at community center, I'm on recreation committee, so I keep going back to it, but they will have suggestions, the recreation group, of what they would like to see done up there. But it's a physical asset of the council, so the council needs to approve it and they need to make sure it's done to their standards, so. That's what I'd like to see, but I can, in retrospect, I see very short notice and I apologize for that.
Okay, Councillor Saunders?
Thank you, Mayor. Great presentation. So if you were nervous, it didn't show. So you'll remember that for your next presentation, okay? I can't draw a straight line, but I do recognize the importance of art and culture in the community and what a key part of the community is. So we need to support that in any way we can. Quick question, is there any other location in either Marysville on the island that could serve as a gallery?
Not that we are aware
Okay, so this is it.
of, this is it.
I draw your attention later on in the agenda, staff put together an extensive list of challenges, targets, issues, priorities. And what we're finding is current staff continue to uncover, whether it's through a question, from Councilor Holt or whatever, things that aren't in place. And we're diligently trying to get all that stuff in place. So I would support Councilor Yvonne's comment that we continue as normal this time, but would encourage you to go to the budget meeting, budget sessions in the fall, that anyone looking for support at any time, come forward with those requests. So that, I would support that, but I would ask that you be prepared at budget time to come forward with your requests.
Okay, Councillor Ackley?
Again, I'm in support of the other councilors. decision on putting it off. I only have two questions. Where do all the donations from the donators go? That's one, and sorry, I got a second one. And the sales of the paintings, who benefits?
Okay, so the first question were the donations to the gallery go?
Yeah,
Actually, we have, are you referring to Spula Sparrows?
well, it says here.
Well, those donations,
Yeah, whatever.
they go to, well, there's
Sorry.
anywhere they go to.
Is that craft paper and stuff or?
Can I take that? So, these items, except for paint night, are all organized by myself. And a calendar is created to provide, to offer fund opportunities for any kind of community, charity that we deem in the members meeting. And so that's why the township has offered like two opportunities, because the second one was after COVID. It is such a fantastic job. We felt that it's nice work. The same with the Friends of Tamagami, who's on Claire Mueller, who was a member of the community in the past, and is a big supporter of that agency. And World Central Kitchen had come up because of the Ukraine situation. We thought that we deemed this an opportunity to provide funding. We tried to do it through the Red Cross, but that wasn't feasible, so this was the next best option. Friends of Farrell's is a local charity that we are also supporting, so those funds go directly to those charities through the gallery fundraiser that the calendar provides.
We actually have a calendar here to show you, but yes, but the calendar looks.
So every year there's calendars at various places in the village, and we sell them.
The calendar, the photographs on the calendar are all, island.
They're all from the local photo group.
And the paintings, are they all for sale?
Yes.
And
So you want to-
where does that money go?
So, the money goes to the artists. At the moment, the gallery takes a 30% commission on the sales of the items. And that helps, the gallery actually have some money available for the different things that we wanted to do. And for operating costs more than anything else. And some of the approved, improvements that we've done over the years, we've painted this gallery completely. The white walls are part of that, initial paint for the whole gallery. We provided the volunteer, painters, and we bought I think it cost, I'm saying $600, $700. We built the wall here last year because the township asked us, they wanted to use the stage, because this is a multi-purpose building and we're only one of the people that are to use it. And the township wanted to use the stage for a storage area. So we built the wall, paid for the materials and built a wall that is removable, but we built it so that we could create that space behind it for storage. With township permission, we've improved the lighting in this building. One of the things we wanted to do is to continue on with approval and get better lighting on this end of the whole hallway. So those are some of the kinds of improvements that we've looked to and used the money that we have sort of gathered to be able to do that. The artists themselves, they benefit from selling their work. Some of them are brand new to the idea of selling their work, and some of them are professional artists. So this gallery, the art that you see here is art from amateur, emerging artists, established artists, youth artists. So we cover the whole gamut. We try to do things like have opportunities available here for kids to paint and to draw. We look towards having lectures and workshops. The frameworks, we've always been trying to get frameworks to come to do a framing workshop with us. We support the authors.
That was excellent.
That's what it's,
That was excellent. No need for more. You pinpointed it for me.
Thank you very much for coming and, bringing this to our attention, and that, as council, we usually don't get involved in the administrative costs and that unless it gets brought to our attention, and the fact that Councillor Halton got involved in that out of, the innocent question, that's how anything happened. From my perspective in that, and I do appreciate that this is a valuable resource within the community, not just this building, what you guys do. As well as what's done next door, and that was brought in at this point in time too, in that. And especially considering several factors, including the fact that we still haven't got a vote in the village, and everybody's been significantly impacted on that. But very recently in that we made a deal for using the information site that we have here for distribution of ice cream and that, which is a commercial enterprise, and yet the rent for that is proposed at $1 with a sharing of the hydro costs. Not to me. There's a intrinsic value in speaking separately for the craft people on that are not professional by any great stretch of the imagination, that I would suggest to council that the consideration of the same $1 deal type of thing might be the appropriate thing, and a portion of hydro on that. And certainly the hydro will be very minimal for this area and that, because it's basically lights compared to the other is coolers and that. The bathrooms, we have to provide the bathrooms, and that people aren't coming in here to shop for gallery stuff and then going to the bathroom. This is the one accessible bathroom here, and this is a public building, so I don't see that that's reasonable cost to be assessed. And that, but that's my opinion on that. And I thank you for your presentation, and council, we can discuss a little further in that at this point in time.
I just have a couple of quick questions. How many members do you have in collective?
Right now we have 14, but we've had anywhere from 11 to 18
And how many dollars in sales do you usually generate
for
for the
artists.
artist? Yeah,
There's a number on there for that 1 year.
I think we calculated in our, that we had a gross of 15,000
okay,
From last year.
and that includes, that's everything.
Yes.
But
thank you.
that's not, well, wig money, that's artists, that's for artists, that's it. That's the sales.
Yeah, that's all. That's perfect, thank you.
Any other question? Okay, so what you're asking for is relief for this year. Do you have insurance to cover everything within here? Or is it dependent on our insurance?
Well, we don't know what kind of insurance this building has.
No.
We know that we have made attempts to get this space insured for the summer, which is difficult to do with insurance agencies because it's such a short period of time. A 3-month summer period is not easy. We can't afford a full year of insurance. So we've asked artists individually to make that choice. If they want to insure their own art, then that's up to them. But we don't have any insurance at this point.
Also, in terms of liability, that was part of why we were looking at the responsibilities and expectations on both parties, because I think we need to work out exactly what that means and who has the ownership. This is a public building, the only one of the main users, so that has to be figured out. And that's why we were asking for this year to be able to work with some sites. Because there is that, the use of the public health, for instance, the responsibility of that.
Madam Mayor, if I may, our treasurer has spoken with our insurers, and there's no coverage in here, is that correct, for any additional users?
Through you, Madam Mayor, specifically, that's general liability, so not regarding the merchandise. So I did reach out and we would require the space to get insured, just again, from a liability perspective. And again, just kind of speaking on this process, I think a lot of that's what this is kind of just getting formalized agreements and kind of nailing down these pieces. Again, if council chooses, to waive the fee this year and give everyone some time to figure it out, I think, that's a fine decision, but as far as I think it'd still be worthwhile to have some type of agreement that just again specifies the washroom, specifies insurance and whatnot, and kind of figure out the best solution, so.
Okay. Do we need to make a motion then at this point?
Have a motion.
We have a motion. Okay.
Moved by Councillor Holton, second by Councillor DeBlancy, that council thank Ms. Bowers and Ms. Steele for their presentation and direct staff to prepare a rental agreement for the Wolf Island Gallery for the rental of the community hall at no charge for this season.
Even better than the $1, I suggest. Okay, any discussion? Councillor Jablonski?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can we add just a clause that we'll look at getting rates in place for next year? Something to say, well, we're being to this, so the next year, we'll get this in place. Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Holton?
Yeah, I'd be the same thing, obviously, that's what I was asking questions, I mean, we were asking somewhere in the range of $750 for the year. That's only $54 per artist or 5% commission on sales, so I don't think it's out of line for another year. But I would give you the year to budget for it.
Councillor Saunders?
Okay.
Councillor Ackley? Okay, I would urge that you do get insurance for the contents in here. And there happens to be a retired insurance broker not far from you. And I'm sure that somewhere along the line you can get specific, if it's a 3-month event type of insurance, but I think you should be insured. You got a lot of valuable things that come in here. And it needs to have coverage in that. And liability if anybody falls or any of that other stuff. And that, I think that that's one of the things that you should be looking at and using that 30% fee that you have.
Well, that's part of, what we were, addressing this year before we were, before we were told that we had to pay a fee, so, yes.
Okay,
I agree with you, it's something that we have in place.
okay. Any other further comments? Ready to vote? All those in favor of the motion?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, now we have consent agenda. Read the motion and we'll see if anybody wants to have anything to let these people. Read and then we can.
Moved by Councillor DeBlancy, second by Councillor Ackley, that the May 13th, 2024 council meeting minutes be adopted as presented and or amended, and that the information items be received and filed.
Okay. Councillor Saunders.
Hey, Mayor, I would like to pull the May 13th council meeting minutes from the consent agenda.
Have them looked at. Do you have an amendment for that?
I thought the process you just identified was going to pull.
Okay. Just want to know the rationale for
No, I'm just looking to the clerk person.
it. Okay.
Do a comment on that now?
If nobody else has any, nobody else with regards to the information items, then yeah, we can.
Thank you, Mayor. So, item resolution number 91-24 referred to, it included a requirement that I have the thing here, where staff, the issue was clarification on what was included in the motion passed by council regarding limiting expenses incurred by the county of Frontenac Planning Department. I believe that included a letter be sent by the CEO to clarify the situation, I was wondering about that, and said there.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Saunders, through you, Madam Mayor. No, I'm working on
Thank you.
it.
All right. Anything else regarding the consent agenda? Any other questions? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, now we're at staff reports. You want to read that?
Moved by Councillor Ackley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Saunders, be it resolved that council receives the information that county planners administrative report entitled Summary of Proposed Changes to the Provincial Policy Statement and Planning Act Bill 185.
Okay.
We don't have a formal presentation prepared or anything, it is just an information report of what has been proposed by the province in terms of the latest round of changes. They have, for instance, they're going to take back the requirement that if you don't process certain applications in a certain time frame, you have to give a refund, so that they're going to remove that. And really, a lot of the changes are very much geared towards sort of larger urban municipalities. And at the time of writing this report, the bill had been given second reading at the Legislative Assembly, and we don't know exactly when final reading and royal assent will be, but it can often happen very quickly. The rumor mill amongst the number of planners I spoke with last week is it will be probably before the legislature rises for the summer break, so probably mid-June-ish. And it will sort of drop and it'll be gone. So we'll see what we're getting. But if in reading the report, if there are any questions between Mike and I, we're happy to address them.
Okay, Councillor Jablonski,
No questions.
Councillor Holton,
No question.
Councillor Saunders.
Hey, Mayor, there's so much talk about municipalities having targets for housing. Are we gonna be affected? Is our township, our municipality gonna be affected?
Through you, Madam Mayor, we haven't, the county hasn't been given any direction with respect to growth. Generally, what the province does is it takes those municipalities that are more urban in nature and assigns them a bit of a growth target that they need to. At this point, and so for instance, Kingston has one, but as if they are a separated single tier municipality, that hasn't affected Frontenac. I can't see it being really applicable to Frontenac, but I know some, we just met with the County Planning Directors Conference last week, and some of the other rural counties that have some larger urban areas within them do struggle a bit when they are asked to spread it out through the county but to date, there's been nothing for the Frontenacs, and I don't foresee that happening for us.
So further, Mayor, so we don't need to sell our long-term planning document, in your opinion? Worrying about setting targets and stuff, that's something we have to worry about.
No, to me, Madam Mayor, I think, I think in terms of when you come to doing your new official plan, we're gonna have conversations about things like additional residential units, because that's something they're expecting all municipalities to do. But in terms of higher density growth targets, I don't foresee us being given any specific direction with respect to that. We do growth projections as the county, and we did actually have that updated when we did Marysville. Again, with the added layer that you have some access issues with respect to the ferry. So again, it's something that we would have a conversation with you about and with the community when it comes time to doing the official plan. But I don't see any specific target numbers that we're going to be saying that you need to meet by a certain deadline. It just doesn't really fit with how this community is growing, so.
So then, Mayor, one last question, and it ties into the subject of long-term projection. I was surprised, I guess, to see in your report that the county or planning are responsible for developing long-term projections. I get asked all the time, what's the population of the township, what's the population of each island, and what's it projected to be? Is your organization, your department, the group that provides that for us?
Through Madam Mayor, so we try to do it every 5 years after the completion of all the release of the most recent census data. In the past, we've always hired Watson and Associates to do it, so we ourselves, is not, we're not demographers, that's not our specialty. Given that we are gonna be looking at doing an update to the county official plan soon, you will probably see something at the county level looking to update those population projections. And that we do it for the county as a whole and then a breakdown with each of the townships. I'm not sure into how much detail it goes. I know some townships, as for instance, South Frontenac, hires Watson back to do even more detailed assessment for them or detailed projections. But we will be, I don't think the last ones were just pre-COVID. So we will probably be looking to update the county ones in the next couple of years.
Okay, just to further on that, there are some decent population figures at the KFL&A Public Health. And that when we're dealing with the medical clinic over here and that I was able to get access to that. But I do appreciate the work that Watson's always done in the past. One piece that caught my attention was in the Bill 185, the pre-application consultation piece. That is going to get changed now that they're not going to have to put the fee forward.
So through Madam Mayor, I think what a lot of municipalities have been doing is because there was such a restrictive timeline with respect to processing an application. And if you didn't meet the timeline, you had to start refunding the application fee. And it wasn't optional. A lot of developers were like, just keep the application fee, I don't care. But the legal assessment that they got or legal opinion was that they have to give it back. So a lot of municipalities were front-end loading and making their pre-application processes multi-stages and really rigorous. So that basically by the time they submitted an application, it was complete and it was ready to go. So they're now saying that they're taking back the requirement to refund fees, but they're also saying now you can't make pre-application mandatory. For myself, I mean, we have worked over the last couple of years so that all the townships that we do the planning services for have a very sort of fair but thorough pre-application process. It's very valuable to the applicant because most applicants, if they're only doing this one time and have never done it before, I think appreciate the ability to sit down with staff and figure out what they're going to have to do in order to put forward a complete application before it comes to council. For professional developers, they already know the value of pre-application. So for myself, our staff have over the last 2 years on the county's bill, not the townships, have put in over 250 hours just responding to changes in provincial legislation. And I have to say, I'm a little bit done. So I honestly don't see any value at this point in time, spending time changing our policies again and changing your pre-application bylaw again. Because ultimately at the end of the day, if somebody said to us, no, I refuse to come in for a pre-application consultation, here's my application form, that's their choice. What it means is their success rate for submitting a complete application decreases significantly, and they run the risk of having staff recommend denial if they decide to press the issue and they don't want to work through the process properly. So it's honestly, I've never had anybody refuse to meet with staff to talk to us before doing an application. No. So I'm not overly concerned. And I don't think the province is going to become a slap down press for it. I'm not too worried.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions from council? Do you need the motion read again? Nope. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, now we have Public Works Report, PW 008-24. No worries.
Moved by Councillor Ackley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Saunders, that Public Works Report number PW 008-24 Howe Island East three-car ferry operations and on-call report we received. And further, that council supports the steps outlined in the report listed in the recommendations under each identified area of focus.
Okay. Counselor, or Chief Quinn, are you going to do the presentation of this?
Yes, I will. So thank you, through you, Madam Mayor, to members of council. This dovetails nicely with a statement that Deputy Mayor Saunders made just a little while ago. But we're unearthing a number of things, that agreements and arrangements, but we don't have any framework, we don't have any kind of protocol that's documented and clear. So this report ties in very nicely with that statement. Since last July, we've been taking a look at the East End three-car ferry operations, and what has become crystal clear is that in instances where the county ferry to Howe Island, the main ferry is out of service, goes out for whatever reasons, the municipality and the community, there's an expectation that the East End three-car ferry will just pick up the slack. And when we look at that, there's been real examples of where, there may be a ferry outage at the primary ferry at Joyceville at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and the community expects the East End ferry to open. And when we look at that, as it stands, sort of present time, we do not have any really defined protocol as to, who's gonna open it, who's available to open it, et cetera, et cetera. The municipal staff, they work their schedules, the schedules are identified, the ferry opens up at 6:15 in the morning. First trip is 6:30, and it closes at midnight, so the staff plan their lives around that. But when the Joyceville ferry closes for whatever reason, the community expects the township ferry to operate. So and whether that's right or wrong, we've drifted into that. And I guess the purpose of this conversation today is to get some sense from the leadership as to whether or not we want to drill further into this level of services. That really where we want to go as a municipality, and what do we expect of that East End ferry? So if you're gonna leave Howe Island at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning, if the Joyceville ferry is not in operation, can you leave by the East End ferry? And you need to sort that out. So having said that, when we looked at this, we took a look at what mechanisms would need to be in place in order to have that sort of increased level of service. And the first area would be to have a revisit of the service agreement that's in place with Ministry of Transportation. And so working with the CAO, we would need to determine whether the Ministry of Transportation will be providing approved funding that would support the three-car ferry operations over the midnight hours, for example. Present funding ties in with the present operations, hours of that ferry. But if we're gonna go beyond, we would need to secure that funding to make sure that that's in place because of the salary, et cetera, et cetera. So that's an area that would need to be explored. The next piece is that we presently have all of our full-time, part-time, and casual ferry operators trained, and they also hold other jobs for other employers. Not full-time, but certainly the part-time and the casual. And so when the county ferry goes out of service, we need to have, if the expectation is to keep the township ferry operating over the midnight hours, then we need to have some kind of a mechanism in place to ensure that we have a staff person who's ready and able to go to work at midnight. Right now, we don't have that. And so at the drop of a hat, if there's a need to operate past midnight, then we should have somebody on call, able prepared to respond. Right, the May 24 weekend just gone by is a good example, Friday night, long weekend. And our staff are plans like anybody else, and that's anything from, going away camping to whatever. But at 11 o'clock at night, when call comes in, and now we're looking to have somebody, run that East Ferry. Who do we call? And it's only been luck that we've been able to get somebody. And I gotta be clear that that's starting to wear thin. We've had, for whatever reason, an increased number of times where the county operated ferry is broken, closed, or whatever it may be. And so the responsibilities of the East End Ferry has increased, and the community is putting much more pressure on to keep the East End Ferry going. So we're suggesting that we move towards an on-call system where employees would rotate being on call and then are compensated accordingly. It's not, we're not expecting people to put their life on hold for a week at a time, for example, and not be compensated. So that would then need to tie into the funding structure and would need to be supported by the Ministry of Transportation if there's an agreement to have that. And then a mechanism to communicate with the on-call staff. So a cellular phone or something to that effect. It would need to be attractive, it would need to be worth doing, et cetera, et cetera. But right now it's hit and miss, and it's not guaranteed that we will get somebody at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. It's just not sustainable at this point. And then, and again, I use the May 24 May long weekend that just passed as a very real example, and there have been other examples where we have the county operated ferry closed for long periods of time. And there's a desire in the community and there's a belief whereby which, adding a person to the East End Township Ferry would maybe move things along quicker, would maybe speed things up a bit. Right now, that ferry is operated by one person, and that one person, deals with the flow of the increased volume of traffic. And again, everything ends up crossing at that end, so, you have massive volumes. For a long period of time, and I think this is important for the public record. For a long period of time, there's always been sort of this question about could an employee of the county ferry come to the East End Ferry to assist? And in looking at that, the sense is, or the recommendation would be, is that could be explored. We're not asking the county ferry workers to run the ferry, to drive the ferry, to chain the ferry, to do the gates. We're not asking that we would have our own township staff doing it. That's what they're trained to do. But a county worker could remain on board on the deck of the 3-car ferry and assist with just moving cars forward. The time-consuming exercise, if you get people that are nervous, haven't necessarily been on that ferry in a while, are not clear, and you gotta keep them moving forward in order to get 3 on. And so that might be a role that the county staff could assist us with and limit it to just that. So having said that, there's also a belief in the community that, well, the union will not allow that. And so in a proactive way, in an informal, friendly conversation, we reached out to the president of the QP Local 109, which is responsible for the marine services and the agreement with the county of Frontenac. And the interesting thing is in the present collective agreement between QP Local 109 and the county of Frontenac is that there's actually an article in the collective agreement that speaks to the employer being the county agrees that while employees are working at the direction of the employer at the township ferry, they shall retain all rights and privileges under the county collective agreement. So that implies that in fact, that article suggests that that concept of county assisting township in instances where the county ferry is closed, that concept is something that actually did occur, and it's a practice that would be considered. We went a little bit further and went back to 2 supervisors ago of the county ferry operations and had a conversation with that supervisor who said, and has acknowledged, that in fact it did happen, but that practice was in place. So then the question, the $1 million question is, why did it stop? And nobody's really able to answer that. And what we're suggesting in this report to this council is, let's ask the question again. Let's get it clarified, and let's take the steps to work with the county and really map out a letter of understanding that just speaks to, here are the rules of the game, and can we, in instances where the county ferry is closed for lengthy periods of time, to be determined what that means, could one of your operators go to our East End ferry to work with one of the township operators to give us the 2 people on board? It leaves a second county ferry employee at the county ferry to, to do the watch to make sure that nothing happens at that site. But we're not talking about giving the operation of the township ferry over to a county worker. So these three recommendations we're putting before council today. Because I think it really warrants exploring, drilling into this a little deeper, working closely with the CAO and the relevant persons, whether that be the County of Frontenac, the QP Local 109. I don't think anything here is unreasonable. Fix the funding structure so that it's in place, so that the rules of the game are now known and we're not guessing anymore. If all of this falls flat and there just is absolutely no room for any change, then it is what it is, and we can't guarantee 24-hour ferry service at the East End Ferry. But at least we, as a collective team here, council and staff, can say, hey, we drilled into it, we tried, and here's where we land. To do nothing is just more hit and miss, and it's far too difficult for us, for our staff to be putting their lives on hold because we need that hearing. So that's my report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Questions, Councillor Jablonski?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Great presentation, Mike. Thanks. I agree with the idea of bringing in county workers to support the municipal worker. We're doing a long ship. Refresh my memory. You guys have 24-hour service to your
At the Joyceville County operated ferry, yes, and then the township ferry closes at midnight.
Okay, so I agree with you then saying that if one is shut down, the service provided, we should make another service available, which I guess again, get the gang figure in all night long. No, I agree with 100%. We provide something, we gotta keep up providing that. I like the idea of giving a county guys extra hours on this whole side. Yeah, so that's a pretty good thing. Mike. I like the way it would be shaping up. I like it.
Councillor Holton?
I totally agree. Anything you can do to make ferry service better anywhere should be entertaining. And even if you have to pay it on call, it's very little budget impact because MTO will probably eat most of the cost. Do what you can to improve the service.
Councillor Saunders?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First of all, I want to thank staff for trying to find some solutions to what's become an almost impossible situation with our ferry system. So thank you for that. On a personal basis, I think we need to treat staff, employees fairly. I'm asking them to be informally on call or getting called minimally appears to me not to be fair. So I think on principle, we need to address the fairness. So I support this. What I'd ask is, I assume there'll be a follow-up report. I'd ask you, that you include an estimate of cost of providing that on-call.
Hey, Councillor Acton?
Yeah, great job, Mike. I believe it's great, like, they're gonna be sitting up there when the ferry's down, doing nothing. You know, they might as well come down and, help when the load's the load and keep it moving as fast as we can at any time. It'd be an excellent idea, rather than us having to call in somebody, you know, that has a regular job, whatever, those are already planned people at the job. Well, why can't one of them flip the coin and whoever goes down, senior, non-senior, flip a coin, you know, to say who's going to help me, I'd love to go out. So, but anyway.
Last year, we hired on 6 new people and trained them, correct, for the ferry? Do we still have those 6 people? Okay.
Yeah.
So we have technically a surplus of casual people that don't have regular shifts. How many?
There would be, so to be really clear, Madam Mayor, to council, we took in 6 people. 4 of those people became regular scheduled part-time staff, and they work every second weekend. The other 2 went on to the casual list to join a couple of others that were already in the casual, so we just can call them up, you know, as shifts become available.
So how many do we have in our casual pool at this point in time?
Right now, there are 5, I believe, I'll double check that, but it's 5.
Okay, that's pretty good considering usually one operator has been needed to run the ferry. Okay. I hate to relieve too much pressure from MTO and the county to get the next ferry operational. And that's the real rub of it, because if they look at it as ongoing, that there's any lessening of pressure, and that which, of course, a 3-car ferry is the safety valve in that, as it had to be for the May 24 weekend when they're down for 2.5 days. I wouldn't want the MTO or county to be less under the gun to get that larger ferry going, because that is a 75-year-old ferry. What happens when both break? And that can be a very real possibility when we're asking more and more of it. The concept of 24-hour service to the island. Are you suggesting we need to have 2 people on the ferry for during the nighttime as well? And what is the usual use? And just a quick question that for comparison, our Simcoe Island ferry, I believe, stops at 10 o'clock at night.
It's true, Mayor, no, it's a 24-hour service. There's 2 12-hour shifts for me.
Okay, good to know.
So through you, Madam Mayor, what this primarily focuses on is when the lineups are massive, so you know, through the peak periods of time. It settles down regardless of both ferries running or it settles down usually 11, 12 o'clock at night kind of thing. What this is really intended to do is those rare instances though where and here's a very real example where the county ferry had to close. It closes at about 11 o'clock at night. And for whatever reason, mechanical or whatever, and now you have Dr. So-and-so who's got a scheduled surgery to do at KGH at 6 a.m. And that doctor is showing up at that East End ferry saying, I need to leave this island. So it's really about during those periods of time, having somebody able to operate. Honestly, what this sort of, as we connect all the dots, at 2 o'clock in the morning, our township employee could run that by themselves. Back it up though is what township employee? And what I'm suggesting is the one that would be on call, being, putting their life on hold for that particular week would be the one that would be called in to keep the ferry running. Peak times, busy times though, and the county is out of service, shifting one of the county workers. Instead of, sitting at the county site, they could come to the East End. And work with our township worker during those really busy, times. And we could reduce it come midnight because it's relatively quiet after that, but at least you have somebody there. And our challenge has been, who does it, like, who do we get? We could have 5 people on our list, but those 5 people, they're not sitting, waiting for their phone to ring. They're out about doing their thing. Those same 5 people though are the ones that we call up and say, Joe would like to take a week's vacation, in 2 weeks from now, would you like those shifts? And that's how we backfill. But it's the emergency times that's challenging.
Okay, and just a quick question, and this might be a little too operational, but I'm just wondering for the casuals, do you require of them to submit what days and times they're available for? Is there any language in that?
No, they're just, if there's usually our scheduling would be, for the coverage of vacation time or requests for time off. But even operationally, if a worker that's scheduled to work tomorrow morning at 6:30 or 6:15 calls in sick, which happens, you scramble through that list and you hope that one of that group would be available to cover. If we had somebody sitting on call, that would really make that easier.
Okay. Yes. Councilor DeBonne.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Mike, just one fast question, we used to do a lot of on-call myself as well. We had teams of guys, teams of personnel. We have fixed weeks, so we have 5 guys, or 4 guys rotating over 1 week each. That's our fixed on-call rate, so for a fact, middle of June, 3rd week of June, I'm on call that week. Whether anything happens or not, it's just luck of the cards, right? But you guys have a kind of structure, we have something set for a week?
Not at this point, but what this report is speaking to, Counselor, would be that we develop an on-call roster. And whether that be just, for example, every Sunday, you end and I take over from you, but we could project over the course of the year that this is your week where you're on. Frame it in the way that, again, you can then plan your life, but this is my week of being on call and I pretty much need to stick around. The community.
One more question, Madam Mayor. Do you guys initiate an on-call fee, like if you get called in or on-call fee for carrying that pager for a week, something small like that?
So what we would be proposing through the office of the CAO is our work with the Ministry of Transportation would be to develop the on-call rate based on the industry standard. So it's a bit of a range whereby which during that week, you're on call for 168 hours is the period of time that you would be covering. And what would the rate be per hour? So to be determined, but the answer to your question is yes, that there would be a rate attached. Thank you.
Councilor Ackley.
And really, we wouldn't need anybody on call if we could just get one of the employees from the broken down boat to come down and help at peak times. Correct.
This goes a little bit further, sorry.
Yeah, no, you go right ahead. He's not understanding that piece yet.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the on-call would be covering, in the event that we need to run. So let me just back this up again if I can. So the normal day, we have our staff schedule and the county ferry breaks down in 20 minutes from now, and it's gonna be down for 10 hours. The county worker could, if we have an agreement, just head on down and work with our present person that's already on shift and hang out there to direct the traffic, and we just keep going. So that then gives us 2 people on board our boat. The on-call would be primarily for midnight tonight. It looks like they're not gonna get the county ferry going again, or it broke down at 11 o'clock, and we now need to open our boat. Because our schedules are already, everybody's got their hours, but we're talking about after after hours, primarily midnight till 6:15.
I understand that, but if there's two people working that boat, they can't work the boat. If it's broken, one only has to stay there to supervise the boat, so the other person should always come no matter what. And we don't need to on-call guy. Paying them all these extra dollars, if we can guarantee the county's gonna say. Send this guy down there for 8 hours, we don't have to waste our money and like if MTO was paying the shot, that's a different story. But if we're having to fork out money for an on-call guy and we're not getting any subsidy for it. You know, at the end of the day, it's better to just. Yeah, we're gonna have a guy there in 20 minutes, even an hour, but if they're coming to relieve till we can do something the next day and add two people or whatever for an hour to here.
So through you, Madam Mayor, Counselor, where that gets a little bit slippery let's just go on, let's say it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And the county ferry workers are sitting on the mainland side, and there's that vessel docks for the night. And, we have our vessel, a small ferry. Howe Island side, when we need them, they are not able to get to. So that's where we're suggesting, like, they can't get to Howe Island to get our vessels, so. This on-call will be specifically to the operators that live on Howe Island to get that result.
Councillor Hackley?
Yeah, no matter, so what you're saying, no matter what, we're gonna have to have a guy, cause we can't. We don't normally have a guy on call to bring the boat over to pick up the other person.
I think it sounds like a large expense in reality. And during that period that you're referring to, which is, you know, significant. Plan B, to my mind, should have been Glenora Ferry, one of them brought down. And that's an MTO owned ferry, and it does the replacement when the Howe Islander 2 is taken out of service. And quite frankly, they've got to get their ducks in a row for covering off a lot better than that. I think if you're looking at 160 hours a week of on-call, and then when they get called into service, I think it's gonna be a lot of money, and I think that you already don't have a reserve of funds on Howe Islands for the ferry service, and it's going to be going up more and more for the expense. So I think try to, if any negotiation that at the county level, that it becomes revenue neutral as much as possible, and not an ongoing expense in that on the people of Howe Island, because I really think for the times that it does happen, it's very unfortunate. But you're talking about a lot of money to get embedded in here, that from my perspective at least.
Madam Mayor, if I may clarify, it's 163 hours for the year, correct? Chief Quinn, not,
Not for the,
no.
okay,
Sorry.
no, he's saying for the year.
168 for the year, so you're gonna go here, I'm sorry, let me qualify. Through you, Madam Mayor, it's 168 per week is what it is.
Per week.
And when you do an on-call standby fee, you're looking at, the range is anywhere from $2 to $3.50 is the industry standard. So we're looking at approximately $26,000. I left that out of this report because again, it's a sliding scale. You're looking at about $26,000, of which we're suggesting 80% of that goes to MTO.
My apologies.
Okay, I think going back to Councillor Saunders' point before, that we'd like to see the figures. And that, so can there be a subsequent clarification brought forward to us and that, because as I said, I know we can check with the treasurer, but there really isn't a reserve, and the county gets to bill us for what isn't covered by the fees. And that's gonna be an ongoing issue forever, and that for the Howe Islanders. So let's just make sure that we're as prudent as we can be for the taxpayers.
So Madam Mayor, if I may clarify, what this resolution is looking for is just council support as the steps are outlined. We're not looking for any kind of commitment from council. There would be a subsequent report coming back to council with respect to if MTO would even entertain the idea of an on-call. So there will be a subsequent report coming to council.
I think it would be good to make the point to the operator which is the county, to find out what their plan B really is when they have an outage of that period of time and put the push back to them. Because
They
MTO,
don't have one.
because of the MTO
Yeah.
has owns the boat and the operator is responsible for it. They need to come up with a better plan B than just a 3-car ferry and that may or may not last with extra work.
So through you, Madam Mayor, just to wrap this up, and thank you, CAO, Madam Mayor, that this is really about a beginning point. We have some legwork to do. We are not sure how this will go, but what we do know is our community already, as does the county of Frontenac, right now, in their policies, when their ferry closes, for whatever reasons, they start calling township staff. And what I'm saying is, at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, we may not get township staff. So the county response, plan is call the township. And what I'm bringing forward to council is, as a township, we don't have things in place. If this council says, that's not where we're at, and that is not the level of service that we're prepared to even do, then fair enough, I can live with that, but we would advertise the heck out of it so that our community knows. Dr. So-and-so, don't expect that the township ferry will be running at 4 AM, because it is not. So this is where we just want to really make it crystal clear, whichever way this goes, so everybody knows we're working from the same point.
Okay. All right, so for acceptance of this report.
Does members of council wish me to reread the motion?
Chair, yes.
Moved by Councillor Ackley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Saunders, that Public Works Report number PW 008-24, Cow Island East 3-car ferry operations and on-call report be received. And further that council support the steps outlined in the report listed in the recommendations under each identified area of focus.
I think we give additional directions regarding that. We should clarify the 3 recommendations that were made, because there was significant discussion around each one.
Information purposes only right now.
No, we're just given direction for them to proceed on these recommendations. Correct?
No, not necessarily. If council's okay with the recommendations, staff would contact both the county and MTO.
Okay, let me read the 3 recommendations. Recommendation 1, review that the MTO, the present service agreement, and obtain approval that funding be supported if the 3-car ferry operates over midnight hours. Everybody in agreement with that one?
Yeah, I'm good with everything. We just
Okay.
need to, we beat it to death.
Recommendation 2, move towards an on-call system where employees rotate being on-call and are compensated accordingly. Methods to communicate to the on-call staff would be provided. The funding structure of this will need to be supported by MTO, and once established, determine the cost sharing between the MTO and municipality. See Appendix A. That spoke to the point that Councillor Saunders raised regarding the funding and the monies. So I want to see the cost as well. And that's so.
If I may,
Yes.
Madam, I'm not sure, I'm okay with the motion or whatever it is as is. Are you suggesting we add all these recommendations to that?
No, I'm suggesting that that one be deferred until we get the costing from what you had talked about.
In my opinion, the staff report addresses all that.
Okay. Okay, and the 3rd recommendation, the township, the county of Frontenac develop a letter of understanding that establishes a protocol where the county staff could assist the township ferry in limited capacity, should avoid attributing this solely to union restrictions. A recent conversation with President QP 109 is that there's a willingness to come to a meeting to review the potential options. No promises were made. There's willingness at the time of conversation. And below, they gave the article 3.05. All right, so if everybody is in agreement with those 3 recommendations, we'll call the vote.
Clarification, I'm in agreement with providing staff direction to pursue those, not approve them, pursue them. That was my understanding of the motion.
And council support the steps outlined in the report listed in the recommendations. So you're supporting all those steps that we've identified to proceed. And then based on that information we get back from MTO and the county, we would prepare a report with including any costing, sorry.
Okay, all right. Any further questions? No, okay. All those in favor? Carry. Okay, Wolf Found Fire Report, that's one. You want to read that?
Moved by Councilor Jablonski, seconded by Councilor Fulton, that Wolf Island Fire Report number FY 001-24 regarding the purchase of a 2000 refurbished tanker be received, and further that council approves the purchase of the refurbished tanker truck to be financed through a bank loan over 40 years.
Okay, questions, Councilor Jablonski?
Tim, is this something we have to have?
Yeah, this is something that I didn't, this hasn't come up overnight. I've been working on this for 2 years to try to replace that tanker. Thought we had a lock deal in place with Kingston. That fell through. The brokers now are buying all these trucks up. That truck went for 80,000 and now it's up for 99,000 US. So this truck here, is, a guy that we bought 3 or 4 vehicles off of. So I just sent him a text and said, do you have any ins or outs on any tankers? He said, actually, we're refurbishing one right now. So when they refurbish it, they put a brand new engine in it, transmission. They sandblasted the frame, epoxied it, put a 2,000 gallon poly tank on it. It'll come, they don't paint stuff anymore, they wrap. So the truck will be wrapped in red. It'll basically be a brand new truck by the end of the year. And there's no limitation on tankers, it's just offers on the age.
Thank you.
And I'm recommending we go this route because we gotta, and I know Mike's saying, we gotta try to start getting reserves to build up for vehicles. And we have some money in there now, it's in reserve, but I would like that to change to just a reserve for vehicles. And that money go in there, that would be the plan going ahead, that money's used in the future just for that. Right now, it's just sitting in reserves and it can be used for shortage or something like that. But we should, going ahead, that's the plan.
Capital reserve.
Yeah, just for vehicles and replacement.
Excellent.
Okay, Councilor Halton?
I'm good with it as long as you and Jesse and.
Yeah,
we can figure out how to
I'd
pay.
like to also thank Jesse and Vanessa because they worked with me to get this presentation put together.
My only thing would be, remember when you come next year and you wonder why we're not putting very much in reserves for the truck, I mean, this is gonna cost us 50,000 a year, so.
Right.
That pretty eats up what we have been putting in reserves. I do understand that keeping the reserve fund the way it is a good idea in case something comes up. A grant or something that we can look after, so.
Yes, no, I fully understand that.
Just
4
remember-
years down the road, we're not getting any more.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think this is the only road you can go now. Because you can't compete with those other guys. You don't know what you're getting. Here, you know, you're getting bring a brand new truck.
Okay.
Other than the year.
I'm good with it.
Okay, Councilor Saunders?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So Chief Hawkins, what's the cost of a new tanker?
A new tanker like that would probably run you at $5,000 to
$1,000?
$6,000. I wish. That, for example, the 200 or the 2017 we got, the Kenworth, we were just over 200,000. That truck today's going for 700.
Thank you. Two additional questions. One is, and you've alluded to this already, do we have a long-term plan to address the life and replacement of all fire equipment?
That is pretty well it. We have to, like, your front run pumper can't be any more than 25 years old. So this is my idea of starting to put money into reserve and just for vehicle replacement. That's the long-term plan that we've had. It should have been in place a long time ago, and it hasn't been.
And the last question, Madam Mayor, why would we not pay for this, like, pay for it and be done with? I'm always nervous of bringing up the windmill reserves. Sorry.
Oh, I know.
Was there thought given towards just pulling money from the windmill reserves and paying this thing out?
That was one of the other options. There's two options, the bank loan and paying for it as a wind reserve. It's gonna be a wind reserve anyway, because that's where the 50,000 is coming
So this is either over
from.
4
Over
years.
4 years or, yeah,
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Eckler?
Yep.
The truck we're replacing, what year?
they were both 89s Fords. It was getting to the point where you couldn't get parts for them.
So yeah, I remember you replaced the pumps or something and,
I did end up getting 10,000 for the two trucks and that went into reserve.
yeah, so you sold our 2 trucks.
They're gone.
So we don't have a pumper truck?
We don't have tanker.
Oh, we don't have a tanker.
Yeah,
But we have a new pumper truck because we just got that.
we had that, the 2017.
Yeah,
That was the
yeah.
first truck, the tanker pumper, it is.
And the new one's a pumper?
No, it's just.
Oh, it's a tanker.
It's just a tanker, so it'd be.
Just speeds it.
Yeah.
And refurbished as new pumps, new, you're
everything's new.
pretty clear on what you're getting.
Yep,
And again, why pay the bank loan if we have the money? Because why pay the interest? Isn't it better to
Yeah.
just let our money be waste instead of wasting, like, use the
yeah,
windmill
the
money,
is 20,000, yeah.
pay it out, and then, over the 4 years, it's, we're not out that extra 20,000 or 10,000 on 4 or 5 years in interest.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. So again, just for this discussion, the two options wanted to be presented. As far as reserves for fire, the whole fire reserve only has $83,000 at this point. So to fund this through our reserves, there'd have to be a transfer from another reserve. Again, there are a few options, as stated, we do have the Wolf Island, wind revenue reserve. So this isn't where the investments are sitting, this is the wind revenue, as you noted on our 2024 budget. A large portion of that was just put into reserves, with potential to transfer some of the investments or for other causes. Again, and this, you guys, the council might have some more history, but as far as I'm aware, there's also a Wolf Island capital reserve, and that's $375,000. I've not seen documentation if that money was being saved for a specific purpose. All I know is that it was set aside for capital projects. So from my understanding, we wouldn't be able to fund it fully from fire reserve, and there's also discussion with the fire reserve, right? If we want to fully deplete it, it is worthwhile. We don't know what other costs could come up. And again, interest rates, they are higher now than they normally been, the 5.5% compared to our other loans. I don't think we've had anything above 2%. So cash could be made available. It would involve depleting the fire reserve and then either taking funds from another one, so.
Well, again, I would be saying not deplete the fire, but maybe 50,000 or 40,000, then take from the other sections that we do have plentiful cash to, because this is very important, fire's fire.
So this is, that's through you, Madam Mayor.
I have a question back
Oh,
to
okay,
to
sorry.
the treasurer, and that, so debentures, and that, is there a lower rate that we could get this rather than the bank rate for the?
Through you, Madam Mayor, that can be looked into. Again, this was put together last week, so as far as the bank rate, we just reached out to our account manager at TD and said, we're looking at financing the purchase of a tanker, what would be the going interest rate? Again, if we proceed with that option, it's definitely worth investigating. I can't tell you right now, that would significantly reduce the interest expense, but
Okay, so what will be the mechanism for debentures?
through you, Madam Mayor, I would have to kind of investigate that further, but yeah.
Okay, so there may be a smart way to get this expense without putting at risk any interest that we can generate from our wind turbine investments, and this is the way municipalities usually make larger expenses, my understanding, am I right?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, it is, yeah, an option.
Okay,
But I do think we need to let this happen today, so somehow, because you need to move on stuff, right? Or you
Yeah,
never
I think it's,
it's a move it or lose it situation again with a possible better deal than 500,000 or 600,000.
right, but
So,
he's been working with the treasurer and the CAO. on this deal,
Yeah.
and is there a timeline that should be?
Well, it's up for sale, so.
Yeah.
Anybody
Have you
can
put your
step in.
hand up for it though?
I told them that I was coming to council
Okay,
and I would get back to them and say, that's fine, I'll wait till then.
okay, so the actual mechanism of how it's paid out isn't dependent on
No,
the purchase? Yeah, Councillor Devontae.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Actually, Jesse, it's a fast question. Yeah, we're paying 5.5% interest rate if we go with the banks to pay for this thing. What are we getting on interest rates with our monies in our capitals and stuff right now? What's our interest rate?
Yeah, so, I want to get back to you on that. They're having discussions, and again, we do have a higher return on the Wolf Island Investment Fund. It is a worthwhile question too, I think, and part of the CAO's plan is, you know, potential RFPs for banks and stuff, and looking at that and making sure we're getting an interest rate. Again, I unfortunately haven't had time just to go down that path and look at it, but, I will make note of that, get an answer on that.
Thanks, Jesse.
Okay. So going back to what the question is right now, it sounds like we're in agreement that we need to have a tanker truck. How it gets paid for, we want to do it in the smartest and most cost-effective fashion, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and we have a CPA and a CAO and the chief and Councillor Saunders.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What authority does Chief Hawkins need from council to move forward on this while we sort out the fund?
Through you, Madam Mayor. So the way the motion is, that's on the floor right now, is that council approves the purchase, but it's financed through a bank loan over 4 years. So if the bank loan's not the way council wants to go, I would need an amendment to this resolution to direct staff, whether we take it out of the Wolf Island Capital Reserves, Wolf Island Investment, 50,000 out of Wolf Island Fire Reserve. However council wants me to direct that, we need an amendment to this resolution to direct staff to do that.
And we still have a question regarding the debentures and how much we could save on the interest for that and how much it costs us in what our investments already are in turbine funds.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, if we wanted to adjust it, if we're gonna go through the way of financing that. Management would investigate the cheapest option and, you know, worst case scenario, pursue the loan. At the $20,000.
Okay, so that would be my suggestion of an amendment that the CEO and treasurer investigate the most affordable option. With least impact for our budgets and that for affording this, but certainly we put our hands up and say, yes, we're going to pay for it one way or the other. But give you the added time and that to find the best option on that. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Ackley?
Okay, bear with me a moment.
No problem.
That's right on there. Can you just say what it was that you were looking for again? That
That the treasurer and CEO endeavor to find the most affordable with least impact on reserves. For the purchase of this vehicle.
Okay, the amendment is moved by Mayor Greenwood Spears, seconded by Councillor Athley, that the portion of the sentence financed through a bank loan over 4 years be removed, and that the treasurer and CAO endeavor to find the most affordable finance option with the least impact on reserves for the purchase of the tanker be inserted.
Yeah. My speaker isn't working.
No, Lisa just minutes and they can't hear me.
We were quiet for quite some time.
Yeah, that was another thing too.
Okay, well. I can't, I'm not technical, and I got the owl looking at me, but I'm sorry,
It's
we got some witnesses here. Okay. Any further discussion on this? All those in favor? Carried.
Okay, now back to the main motion, moved by Councillor Jablonski, seconded by Councillor Holton, that the Wolf Island Fire Report number FY 001-24 regarding the purchase of a 2000 refurbished tanker be received, and further that council approves the purchase of the refurbished tanker, truck, that direct the treasurer and CAO to endeavor to find the most affordable finance option with the least impact on reserves for the purchase of the tanker.
Any further questions? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I would like to thank yourself and council and Jesse and Vanessa. I'm glad to get this off my plate because it has been a 2-year project. So
Thank you
very much
for-
your support.
Thank you for finding something that costs less than $700,000.
Thank you.
And I assume a converted milk truck wouldn't work.
No, yeah, what baffles and stuff in it.
There we go. All right, thank you very much. Now we're at the administrative report, AD 009-24, work plan.
Moved by Councillor Holton, seconded by Deputy Mayor Saunders, that administration report number AD 009-24 regarding the 2024 departmental work plan be received, and further that council endorses the 2024 departmental work plan as presented and or amended.
Okay. Councillor Jablonski, question.
A lot of work coming up, that man, a lot of work coming up, pretty busy. I'm glad I think a few things have been completed, but we need busy 24. I have no questions. Good luck.
Thank you. Councillor Holton?
Same thing. I hope it gives everybody, and I hope everybody in the public gets a chance to go over this and see what our staff has to deal with over the year. So, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Saunders?
thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to thank all the staff, because this was a collaborative effort putting this together. I personally had to explain to some residents that we're not working on something because staff is, quote, too busy. And I think this document will help people understand the magnitude of the work that's required. So I thank you all for putting it together. Further to that, for clarification, if I come to a staff member, the CEO, and say, well, I think we should work on this, the staff, the CEO is gonna say what?
It's not on my list.
Go back to council and get council approval. Is that correct?
Correct.
I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm being a
No.
little facetious. but
Yes.
This is the guiding document now, so we don't move from this without council approval. That's my understanding. Is that fair?
Correct. That being said, if there is something that is of urgent nature that staff have to deal with that can't wait until the next meeting of council or whatever the case may be, certainly council's not going to, or staff's not going to ignore it and not do anything with it. But we're going to try and focus solely on this here, especially coming later this summer. staff are looking to prepare a 5 and 10-year capital plan, so it addresses such issues as, you know, the capital items for the fire department and new equipment and roads work, et cetera. So that in conjunction with the investment plan that our treasurer is going to be working on, will go tie in hand with, you know, how are we going to finance those types of capital things and over what period of time, so.
Okay. Councillor Ackley?
Again, great job. This just lets people know what you're doing on a daily basis, and that's what they need to do. Cause they're emailing me and Bill all the time, their phone numbers and this and that, and, you know, I'm busy, I have a job, and Bill, yeah, he's playing the call. But anyways, we're all busy, and this just shows the level of you guys, what you're doing for us. And you're doing a great job, like you're putting this plan forward and we got great ideas for next year and maybe 5 years down the road even. So, no, again, great job from all of our staff, all
Yes,
fire chiefs and.
so I gathered all my department heads. Sonia was unfortunately away on vacation. Good for her, but
Yeah.
she did submit some priorities and that listed things from a planning perspective. So we sat down, mapped it all out on 2 or 3 whiteboards from all departments. So I want to thank all my department heads for coming together and submitting the information and helping me put this together.
Okay. And I just have a few questions regarding some of the things at the top which refer to bylaw and that, and I thought we were already covered on several of these points. The hiring of employee bylaw. And that it's.
So through you, Madam Mayor, those first, I'm gonna say down to 1.8.
Mhm.
It is legislated under the Municipal Act. It was legislated in 2017. I've not been able to find a copy of any sort of policy, any sort of bylaw, or anything with respect to. You might be thinking of the personnel policy, I think is the one that you're referring to. This is kind of separate.
Separate and apart from the personnel policy and that for a lot of this stuff. Okay, good. Thank you for that clarification. And I see, for example, when you're talking about jumping the order a bit, that there's a business case for that 3-car ferry.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that
Yeah.
today. So you have to have the flexibility within this, but it is an excellent scope and review of, you know, what you do. And nice to have a plan. Always good to have a plan. And a Gantt chart on how you're getting through the plan. That's something I could never get from our wonderful MTO. And it's the first thing I asked for was a Gantt chart. So I hope to hear how things are moving and progressing through that and what gets knocked off of it. Thank you
Perfect.
very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so do we have a motion for that, I guess? For
It's on
accepting
the
it.
floor, so
Any further questions? All those in favor? Thank you very much. Now, we're at action required items. Want me to?
no, I can get this. I was just trying to get my paper open on that.
Just so you know, we're doing a system now that the CAO is reading the paperwork.
Moved by Councillor Holt and seconded by Councillor Jablonski that the request received from the Wolf Island Classic Road Race be received and that council support the annual road race and grant the request to close Road 96 west of St. Lawrence Street to Victoria Street from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Sunday, July the 7th, 2024.
Okay, any questions? Councillor Jablonski?
Nope. Support this
Councillor
fully.
Hilton?
No question.
Councillor Saunders?
Fully support.
Councillor Ackley?
Support.
Great, let's run. All those in favor?
The next item is the Frontenac County lifting of restrictions on the Frontenac Highlander, and I apologize. The resolution that I was working on with our solicitor was not back in time for the when we prepared this, so I will put the motion on the table. Just to be clear, I've worked with the county CAO on this. they are in favor of this motion that we're bringing forward here. If council approves this, then I'll send it off to county for the mayor and deputy mayor to address it at county council in June.
Can you give us an idea of what's in this motion?
So what's in this motion is with respect to the lifting of the restrictions that we had originally requested. County council have came back with regards to indemnifying the township indemnifying the county and legal liability and staff time, etc. So what our solicitor came back with as a recommendation is that my council directs their CAO and the appropriate staff to negotiate terms of an agreement on the issue with regards to legal liability and indemnification before such restrictions may be lifted. Essentially is the gist of this big law.
Basically, want to indemnify them.
No, we're going to enter into an agreement. So if council is, we don't know what that agreement looks like as of yet. We haven't drafted anything, but if my council is in agreement with entering into an agreement and county council passes it as well, which from any indication from their CAO, they would be in agreement to that, then the county and the township would work together to develop an agreement to take back to their respective councils.
Okay, so it doesn't bind us.
Not at this time. Okay. So if I may, moved by Deputy Mayor Saunders, seconded by Councillor Ackley. Whereas the Frontenac Howe Islander Ferry is operated by the County of Frontenac. And whereas all costs associated with the operation of the ferry are the responsibility of the vessel owner, the Ontario Ministry of Transportation, MTO, and the Township of Frontenac Islands, the Township. And whereas the County of Frontenac currently has policies in place in relation to the operation of the Howe Island County Ferry that restricts vehicles weighing more than 3,000 kilograms from using the ferry during peak commuter hours. And whereas after receiving several delegations about the current weight-related restrictions and conducting a survey with its residents, the Township of Frontenac Islands has requested that the County of Frontenac consider amending boarding policies to remove all restrictions during peak commuter hours, thereby deleting the reference to a 3,000 kilogram weight limit in the following policies. MS 12-019 heavy truck restriction, MS 17-001 heavy truck restriction period agricultural related exemptions, and MS 12-018 weekend and holiday truck restrictions. And whereas it is important to take into account the opinion of residents regarding the change, as prior changes to boarding policies have been extremely contentious. Now therefore be it resolved that the Township of Frontenac Islands directs their CAO and the appropriate staff to negotiate terms of an agreement on the issue of legal liability and indemnification before such restrictions may be lifted. And further that the Township of Frontenac Islands acknowledge that all costs related to the specific request of the lifting of the weight restrictions, including staff time resulting from any lawsuits brought against the county due to the lifting of the weight restrictions, be the responsibility of the township. And further that the Township of Frontenac Islands agrees to respond to any and all questions, comments, and concerns received by the County of Frontenac staff in relation to the request to lift weight restrictions. So that motion was developed by our solicitor.
Okay, questions, Councillor Delaunay?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I don't think I'm unfortunate that we beat it from the death a few times, but no, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Halton?
Yeah, for me, I watched the last county council meeting, and the thing that I got out of it as a guest, I seem to get out of the, especially Ron and Fran, that if we're not afraid of, we're saying we're not going to get sued. So if we're not afraid of us getting sued, why are we afraid of taking it on as being responsible if it does happen? So I thought that was a good point of theirs. I thought, yeah, you know what? As long as they can limit it to just this one thing, this is not anything broader, I'm okay with it.
Councillor Saunders?
Thank you, Mayor. This has been a very frustrating experience. We've been at this since last October or November. What I see unfortunately is just further delays. Because now we have to go into some negotiations will also cover a certain specific period or a significant amount of time probably. And those agreements have to come back to both councils for approval. So we're going around and around and around like this, and meanwhile, every day facing the situation where there's a inconsistent application of the current procedure. Trucks are getting heavier. We continue to have confrontations on the island. I think I can speak to Councilor Ackley on this one, around this one. We see it on a daily basis. Whenever they're managing traffic around traffic, it slows the operation of the ferry down. So one of the intents of moving these restrictions is to do the first on, first served, first on, whatever, and speed the whole process up. And this feels to me like we're just going around another big circle. And I'm quite frankly, frustrated with the whole process. So I guess that this is the best we can do, and I have to support it, but I just feel that we're not moving ahead very in an expedient manner.
Okay, Councillor Ackley?
Again, we need to move on. Drove on the ferry this morning. They could have stopped us from coming to this meeting. Unfortunately, all my other trucks were tied up, so I had to take a 6,000 kilogram truck on the ferry this morning. Luckily, I got on the ferry, you know, just in the nick of time, and you know, because it could have went south really fast there this morning. I just believe you pull up, you should get on, and people shouldn't be hindered, especially now that we're 2 lanes, by any kind of weight restriction. Because there's only 2 lanes, they got lots of room to walk around anything now, without any real responsibility of anybody getting hurt or hindering anybody. Other than Bob can't go on with his big truck, well, Bob paid for that big truck, Bob's got insurance, or whoever customer or taxpayer it might be coming and going from the island. That's just, everything costing us more due to the fact with all these restrictions, it costs more. Heating, propane, gravel, whatever, you know, we do our own gravel, but dirt, you know, trying to get the mulch off the island because we don't have a mulch center. You know, little stuff, you know, we need this. You move to an island, there's a ferry, it's first come, first served.
Yeah.
That's the way I believe it should be.
Yeah.
I see people wait today.
Okay. I also agree that a road is a road is a road, and first come, first served, and that, and I do feel that there has been a lack of good faith by the county in moving forward on this particular item. One thing in particular, in that any of the legal expense should be clearly out of the Howe Island budget side, not subsidized by the Wolf Island side. But I'd like to actually have this deferred until after we have our closed meeting. And we can still vote on it after that, but I think there could be other discussions that may occur, and just move this to a little bit
So you
later
have
in the agenda.
Table it to later in the
Just
agenda.
later in the agenda. Okay,
Do I have a seconder?
Councillor Halton. Thank you. Okay, now we have Virginia Clark, Wolf Island Music Festival, request for invention to the noise bylaw.
There's a just.
Okay,
Moved by Deputy Mayor Son. That one, sorry. Moved by Councillor Holton, seconded by Councillor Spelunky, that council approves the request received from Ms. Clark requesting an exemption to the township noise bylaw number 28-2013 on Friday, August the 9th, 2024, beyond 11 p.m. but no later than 1 a.m. Saturday, August the 10th for the Wolf Island Music Festival.
okay, Councillor Jablonski, any questions?
No, pretty straightforward.
Okay, Councillor Holton,
No questions on that.
Councillor Saunders,
based on past experience, would we expect some complaint from local neighbors, or is this just? Oh, no. Is that a bad question?
He's not answering that one.
You're just going.
Okay.
If I may, Madam Mayor. So in my discussions with Ms. Clark, essentially it would be, because our noise bylaw says 11 PM, sorry, they would be seeking to 11:30, 12 o'clock, just for takedown and cleanup kind of thing. Not necessarily if the music festival is going to continue going. So it's just for the takedown.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Ackley?
I think it's a great idea. Let them have fun.
I have no problems with it either in that, so all those in favor? Carried. Now we're at the public question period. For anything that's involved on our agenda. Okay, step forward, state your name and your address, please, for the clerk.
Kimberly Thomas, 15 Mine Road, I think, Rhode Island. I'll try and keep it brief. Thanks for all your hard work. One thing I'd just like to say about the gallery is that, I think a lot of people were really frustrated and discouraged. As a volunteer who loves to volunteer on the island, and it's what we're asking for, when you guys are looking at what you're charging and how you're charging and how you're approaching, just take a minute and think about the volunteers, not the money and not the tourism, but the actual people that live here and pay the taxes, that want to be involved in the community, that are gonna say, you know what? Take gallery, I'm out of here. And that's gonna happen if we piss them off. So let's just consider the volunteers we're asking for and the community. A second point is the Zoom meeting. I got a text from somebody who's older, who wanted to be on the meeting, who could not, so let them figure out how to log in. Could we post clear instructions as to how to get on the Zoom meeting for the council? Put it at the post office and on the boat, please, and maybe on the website, because a lot of people that want to go on a Zoom meeting or want to be here are older and not tech savvy, so let's make it stupid for people like me. I have to be in person, so I couldn't do it on Zoom for the life of me. God bless you, that'd be great. And the third point and the last one is that work plan that you talked about, that you all approved, because they're too busy, put that on the website so that we people in the community, when we want to go around about stuff, can say, well, have a look at what they're doing, okay? Before you want them to do more. And if you're not getting an answer in time, you look at what they're doing. So let's, you guys talked about working collaboratively. I don't know if that's right pronunciation with each other. Let's bring it back to the community, okay? Because we believe in you, we voted for you. And so let's just, get together and not grump as much and have a place to support each other. Because I don't think any one of you here is slacking. Or I think it's just that we're overworked, we're understaffed, as same as every other healthcare, every other service the government runs, and that's not our fault, but we gotta get through it together. And I'll shut up now, but thank you. Guys, good job.
Thank you. Okay. Councillor Hodge.
One comment to that, volunteers. All our programs at the community center are run by volunteers. We're asking for some user pay system. So I just want to keep that in mind. It's not that we don't appreciate the volunteers, but this gallery is being run by volunteers, but they're also collecting and charging money for things. If they paid equally proportionally to what pickleball pays, that's about what we were asking for. So.
I just think the value of pickleball and the value of the gallery might be different, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah, we'll talk very later. Any other public comments on anything? Anybody online with their hands up? I don't see anybody. No, okay.
Bill. Madam Mayor, following up on that suggestion about posting that work plan on the website, can we do that?
Yes. Okay, now statement by members. Jablonski?
I have no statements today.
Okay, Councillor Hall.
I'm good today.
And Councillor Saunders.
Just an announcement that our second island market will be this Saturday morning, the second Saturday of every month, where where residents will bring forward different goods and services they provide for sale to the public.
Okay.
Well, apologize, the time is 8:30 to 10.
Okay, Councillor Ackley.
And again, I think that's a great thing that we're doing on our island, and everybody should be allowed to sell stuff at that, whatever they are, or whoever they are on the island.
Mhm. Okay. And I want to make a point that Horns Ferry is now up and running. To add to lineups one way or the other, and sometimes it'll be the escape route, and that for those of us that want to avoid long lineups heading to Kingston, I can make it quicker via Horns than I can via the lineup. Also, we have the roundup that'll be coming up at the end of July. You can check on the websites for that. End of June, sorry, end of June. And then we have the baseball tournament. That will be for the weekend of the holiday August. Starts on the Friday. And we have the plow match, both the Canadian and the Wolf Island plow match at the end of August, and that's, so we expect. Hopefully we'll have a boat running in here, but I can't tell you that MTO can give me any update at all. I can tell you when I approached them to get the shuttle started, that they jumped on. That didn't give me a lot of confidence that they were so quick to jump on the shuttle and that, but at least we got it started earlier, even if it's only on the weekends for now. And one final thing that I want to mention is we are coming up to June 6th, which is the 80th anniversary of D-Day. And I hope everybody takes a moment to think about the people I've been blessed to work and serve with, people from the First World War through to the Second World War, through the Vietnam, Korea, et cetera, and that. So the fact that June 6th is coming up and that it's a heavy date for many people in the community. Councillor Dvorak, your thoughts on
Just one more thing, I forgot, thank you, Madam Mayor, actually, taking the page from your guys' books, we have movie night on Friday night, 8 o'clock, 15-foot screen over at the recreation center, so everybody will sign, bring your coolers, your chairs, something to keep yourself hydrated, and some movies on Friday night.
Great job.
All right. Now, notice of motions, any notice of motions coming? No, seeing none, any announcements? Seeing none, we're going to move to a closed session.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Saunders, the second by Councillor Holton, that council adjourned to form council in closed session at 12:30. Regarding the municipal act section 239E litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board, and B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, specifically a legal update and human resources.
Thank you very much.
Secretary?
In favor?
All those in favor?
Carried.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Did you want to come?
When our closed session is over, you're welcome to come back if you provide your cell
I
Very
don't know
good.
if they
We got it.
understand, they can't speak to it.
Okay, great. Well, Ben, I knew you. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
That's all.
Okay, so we resume now at 1:07.
Moved by Councillor DeBlancy, seconded by Councillor Bolton, that council direct staff to proceed with the CAO recommended actions as per discussions in this closed session.
Any discussion? Blumeke, Holcomb, Saunders, Ackley, all in favor?
The next motion I have, brings both of the bylaws together in one motion. Does any member of council wish to have them pulled and addressed separately? Moved by Councillor Holton, seconded by Councillor Ackley, that 3 readings and final passage be granted to bylaw number 025/2024 and number 026-2024, being the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council.
Okay, any questions? Councillor DeBlancy,
No questions.
Councillor Holcomb, Councillor Saunders,
So thank you.
Councillor Ackley.
Well, thank you.
Okay, all those in favor? Carried.
And moved by Councillor Chouwaki, seconded by Councillor Ackley, that the regular meeting of council held on June 3rd adjourns at 1:10 p.m.
All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.